Hello again, everyone. As you know, I've already made a classic style Wolverine mask. Today I'm going to be making a X-Force Wolverine mask. Now, a whole lot of this build is identical to the other video, so those parts of it I glazed over. However, all the things that I did do differently from the previous video, which is most of the way that I finished it, that I do go in depth on. So I will link this video below if you have not seen it on the actual construction process, because I kind of fly through it in the beginning of this one. Alright, let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. Okay, so I've cut all my pattern pieces, and I'm going to glue the V-cuts and all the pieces together pretty much exactly the same, with the same process as I used in the first Wolverine mask. The only difference is these are going to be glued offset, but I'll come back and show you all that once I have them put together. I will, however, link the first video in the description if you're building along and want to see the in-depth process. You can watch it there. Okay, just to quickly recap here, like I say, more detail, watch the original video. I start by gluing with contact cement all of my V-cuts on my pieces, and I heat shape the face and those pieces, and I'm going to begin gluing the main shell pieces together, followed by the face and then the nose. Alright, I have glued all my pieces together, same as in the other video, with the 1s to the 2s, and then that combined to the number 3 piece down here. And then lastly, I put on the 2 face pieces to either side. However, I don't glue this back area here yet. I don't do that until after I have heat shaped it. And finally, I put in the nose piece, and of course lining up all my registration marks so that everything comes out even. And now I'm going to heat shape this, because even though I did a little pre-shaping to the nose before I glued it and to the brow areas before I glued them together, I still need to pull out some cheekbones, push in the eyes and round that out, and just make the shape look more human, and also round this out as well. Same as in the other video. One thing I'm going to do a little different is these, and I'll come back and show you what I've done with that. Okay, I've finished heating and shaping the facial features and rounding out the backside. I didn't round out these pieces too much, and that was a difference too between the first one and this one. Was that in the first one I pre-curved these, and these I left just flat and just tried to flatten out the center here to give it more of a tactical armored look, which is part of the reason why I also glued this offset by a few millimeters. And I also think I did a little bit better to capture the facial features this time. Not completely done with it, but pretty much done with the heating. Now, as far as what I did different, I pushed it in a lot more here around the outside of the orbital socket. And I glued this back at much more of a backward angle, whereas on the first one it was glued outwards. I also curved the top on both sides and curved the bottom, and then heated the back side with the heat gun, and just use my hands to put a crease into this here, which, like I say, gives it more of a swept back look overall. Okay, so once I got everything in place, I glued the outside of this to the head shell first with some super glue, and then just to reinforce it and make sure it would stay in place, what you see there is just some hot glue from my hot glue gun. And I also took the pattern that is marked cloth strips, and you'll notice there's a line on it. The line is where you cut it off for the other side, but that's just to help cover the seam and to give it kind of a tactical look that follows the line of the mask itself. This is optional, you don't have to do that. The type of fabric that I use is called Ollie Fun fabric. I picked this up at Hobby Lobby. If I can find a link for it on Amazon, I will put one up. Okay, now that I have all this stuff together in the way which I'm happy with, I'm going to go ahead and use my Dremel 4000 rotary tool to sand up some seams and smooth everything out as much as possible. Okay, now that I've sanded and rounded everything out, just like in the last video, I took my pattern and cut a second piece of this, slightly smaller as far as the overall dimension, but also just long enough to fit in the back, and this length can differ depending upon how far back you sweep this or not. So, and how you end up shaping your piece. So, if you want to reinforce it, that's the easiest way. I just took a piece of scrap 5mm EVA foam, cut it out, glued it in, sanded it a little, and then I sealed around it with some super glue and put some hot glue down into the back of that with my hot glue gun to help make sure all this is nice and sturdy, and it's in a spot where you can't see it whenever you're looking at the mask. So, okay, now that the construction and sanding is done, I moved on to sealing. And to seal this one, I did use Mod Podge, but unlike the last one, I did not use the kind you brush on. I used the kind that you spray on because it leaves an interesting texture that I thought would look better for a more tactical, armored-looking Wolverine cowl as opposed to the other one, which kind of has a different direction. Okay, now that it has had plenty of time to dry, I'm going to go ahead and airbrush that with some opaque createx black that I've thinned out with some water. Okay, I airbrushed createx transparent gray. You don't need to get the transparent, I just happen to like it because I can gradually build up the color that I want. It's a little bit easier to control the highlights and lowlights too, but you can just hand paint it as well. You don't have to do this. And now I'm going to put in some red eye lenses and some Velcro so I can close this up. Okay, so in similar fashion to the other one, once again I used a 1-inch polypro strap and some industrial strength Velcro to make closure. Okay, so what you saw in that previous clip was me boiling a 50-50 mixture of tap water and some of this Rit Dymore synthetic racing red, and I boiled it for about 2 hours, which ended up dyeing my transparent acrylic plexiglass 1/8 inch thick. Turned it a nice red color. I thought I had something else to use, but I didn't, so I just took a piece that I had. This is actually a test piece, and next I'm going to cut the lenses out of this. However, I don't know if it would be better to cut the lenses first and then dye it. This is the first time, honestly, that I've done this. So this is me experimenting with it, but I wanted something, a nice brilliant red that I could also see through to have for the lens. Okay, so I have one cutout, and to do this I use my dremel rotary tool with a cutting wheel. And the first thing I do is cut out the rough shape and then clean that up. Okay, and here they are all cut out, and they are of course slightly larger than the actual shape of the eye. Uh, so obviously eye protection is a necessity. This stuff sends these little plastic shards everywhere. I would never do this inside my home, by the way, and obviously don't do this barefoot because all these little splinters and pieces are really sharp and will just stick in you. You don't want any of this stuff in your eyes or anything like that. I end up having to take a shower right after this because it gets in my hair and everything. But there they are, all cut out. And the other thing you'll notice is I'm not actually wearing safety gloves. That's my own choice and my own stupidity. But the fact is, I have a better grip and control on the piece like this than I would with the gloves, where I'm more likely to slip, ruin the piece, cut through the gloves. This is moving very quickly. An easier substitution to this would just be to find like some type of packaging plastic for like a toy or something that was already tinted red, or to use like I did for Star-Lord. They were making Rocket Raccoon and Star-Lord sunglasses that had red lenses, and I just cut them out. The acrylic plexiglass is a very hard substance for being plastic, and much harder to cut than say like something on a toy gun, or something on like a Nerf blaster, or a set of sunglass lenses, which I've cut down before for things like Dr. Fate or whatever. But this plastic in and of itself is very hard and very durable, and it's pretty tough to cut. Like you'll notice all these, it's almost as if you're melting through it instead of cutting it, because it doesn't like come off in like a sawdust type form. It just forms up into these hard plastic blobs, like I say, you end up with. But I put in the extra work, effort, and time because I really want this X-Force Wolverine to look awesome. So before I glue these in, I switched my Dremel back to the sanding head, and on the inside here, hopefully I can get this into the light, right above my thumb here, you can see I've sanded it flat. Whenever I heated and curved in the eyes, of course, it forms kind of a lip. So I sanded that flat so that the lenses can lay flat against this without messing with my heat shaping, and glue in nice and even. Okay, the red lenses are in. How I did this was I took some gel super glue and put a very small amount, like a pinhead amount, at the point of either end, and just press that in, holding from both sides for about 2 minutes. And then I took my hot glue gun and just went around each one to hold it in place. Alright, so the only thing left now is to try this on and see how I look. Okay, and real quick here, wouldn't make much sense if I didn't show a side-by-side as far as the difference in the pattern and the pattern shape. But yeah, that's, you know, not much different, but it's kind of a dramatic difference. Man, I like the look of this one more, but I like the way this one looks on me more. Okay, so that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this video. And if you're watching this and you already purchased the other original old school Wolverine pattern and you would like this, just send me a message through the Etsy shop and I will send you the file with this particular design on the face. That way you don't have to purchase another one. And in fact, the alternate version of this is just going to be thrown in with the other pattern. So if you buy the original pattern now, you get the alternate with it. So that's cool, I guess. As always, thank you everyone for watching, and have a great day. The remaining acrylic plexiglass that I dyed, I put into my Nerf rival Chaos, so I could watch the flywheel spin.